Hi, my name is Isabel. I was the director of Mail from Los Angeles, and this was a really fun project to work on.
I'm CJ Arellano, and I wrote and directed a short called Dry January. And I'm based in Brooklyn, and it was so much fun, like really, really wild experience.
Hi, I'm Nicole Lipp, and I directed and co-wrote Mistakes You Make Before You Die.
In the other Q&As that I've done, there's a theme that holds them together. We have, the International Shorts Program, the trans and non-binary, BIPOC. This is always the challenging one because you are films that we, the screening committee, have selected as favorites. There's absolutely nothing holding the three of you together, but I might have a way in. A couple is central to each of the three of you. So let's start there, if we could. Talk about the nature of the couple at the center of your film.
I mean, I guess if we're talking the casting process, it was really fun because Issa Moon, the writer and the star of it, we just pretty much casted around her. So we casted her friends. So we were really lucky where we got Raina Morris, who plays Maya, who is just such a talented actress, and they already had such great chemistry. And then Haley Steele, also amazing actress. Since they're all improvisers, they're all comedians, it was really easy to have the chemistry feel really real. And then beyond that, I mean, the writing, Issa's writing comes from such a real place that the characters felt very real, that I think she made it very easy for everyone to be able to create well-rounded characters.
I didn't realize that the film had an improv base.
There's not too much improv in there, but Issa Moon, the girl who plays Olive, her physical comedy influenced the character so much that you can so see it there, of just every choice she makes it so rich.
Yeah, in terms of the couple at the center of my film, Dry January, they are a couple of siblings. I always wanted to do a brother-sister, sibling type relationship because I have an older sister, and there's just so much history there and so much up and down and bad blood, good blood kind of thing that I wanted to explore that. And so the movie is about sobriety, but I did not want it to be messagey. I didn't want it to come with a message of being anti-drinking or pro-drinking. I went sober at the top of the pandemic. And so I was really impacted by how that choice impacted my relationships unexpectedly, not just with my family, but with close friends. And so, I wanted to take that familial approach. Actually, in the first draft, they were really close friends, but I wanted to dramatize it and heighten the emotional stakes for them further. So I thought, just make them siblings. And I thought that the actors, Akanksha Krasinski and Zach Ma, they had this really, really cool lived in chemistry, which was wild because due to scheduling snafus that were beyond my control, Zach was a last minute replacement. He came onto the production 36 hours before we started shooting, which is not a situation any director or producer wants to be in, but you'd never know it based on their chemistry on screen. I almost think the situation that we all found ourselves in was what led them to such close chemistry. He's the little brother in the universe of the film. And so he's coming into it, totally kind of in over his head, and Akanksha kind of took him under her wing, and they adopted this cool sibling dynamic that I think you really end up seeing on screen. So all's well that ends well, and I could not be happier with both performances. And I wanted to draw an interesting relationship between them and their off-screen parents. Part of it was, this is an all-Asian cast, and I'm super proud of that. And at the same time, I wanted to portray Asian characters that I not only relate to, but that I don't see enough on screen. And that is the total opposite of model minority, just living their worst life, just underachieving. And so to give them, to pit them against their off-screen parents, it kind of brings them closer together, but then also drives a wedge between them as well in a weird way.
Nicole, your film, that the couple is on camera for all but 5 seconds, and they're front and center.
So the idea for Mistakes You Make Before You Die came to me literally in a dream. I watched what you see on the screen in my sleep. And I watched it with Jetta Jurians. I dreamt it with Jetta Jurians playing Dora. She's one of my closest friends. And so I literally woke up and I called her and I was like, we need to make this movie. And days later, we had a first draft of the script that we wrote together, and then Jetta starred in. And I knew it was really important to me that we tell the story the way I saw it in my dream, which was with a queer couple, specifically a woman and a non-binary person. I actually dreamt it with Mae Martin. If I had a really long time, I could tell you guys a very fun story about meeting Mae. And they were like interested, but it didn't work out for scheduling purposes. And that wound up being such a blessing because that led us to Terry who wound up playing Lennon. And they brought so much life to this character that Mae would have been amazing, obviously, but like no regrets. So similar story, CJ, of having a different actor than you anticipated. And just, I'm so grateful for it. And now we're actually developing the feature length film, and the plan is to have the same actors. So I wanted this queer couple because that's what I saw in my dream, but also, and nothing's cooler than like seeing something in your head and then seeing it on a screen. That's like, I think, why we do what we do as filmmakers. I could have told the story with a straight couple or with two men or any configuration of gender identities, and like right. The gender and the sexuality and the gayness of it is not what the story's about. And that feels so vital to me as an artist because I'm queer, obviously. I think we all are. We're sitting here talking about our queer movies, but I hid that for most of my life. And I think a huge reason that I was unable to be honest about who I am was because I didn't have queer stories to like inspire me when I was growing up. And everything I saw on TV and in movies when I was a kid, realizing that like I was attracted to girls, but like wasn't allowed to be. Everything I saw was just like two really hot, like straight white people being like super heteronormative. And now, thank God, that is changing so much and we're getting so much amazing queer cinema. Thank fucking God. But so much of those stories are super like gay coming out. Like, here's my identity story. And I just want to see more queer people living lives. Our lives are about more than just our identity. Our lives are lives. We're just humans experiencing shit. And so that was, I think, like why it was really important to me that the couple in the story was a queer couple, even though not once in this entire film and in the feature film that we are developing right now, not once is there like a, oh, it's because I'm queer, like moment or story or plot point. They're just a couple who's in love and going through something really unthinkably painful and funny and fucked up.
Lightning round of sorts. I have one tidbit about each of your films that I'm just going to toss out there, and you have to own up to it and tell me about that choice. We ready?
So ready.
One of you made the decision to have a character go full frontal.
It's a jump scare. It's the first time I screened my film in a theater was at Out on Film in Atlanta. And it was I forgot what they called the block, but it was like Sapphic Shorts or something like that. So it was a theater full of lesbians. And the way everyone gasped audibly when that dick came on screen, it was like the most satisfying moment of my life.
And I try not to make value judgments, but it is attached to somebody whose dick I probably don't want to see.
He is actually, Matt Vorse is a dear friend of mine, and he is actually the sweetest, most lovely human on the planet. And he's a total exhibitionist. And I love that about him. He does a lot of like weird experimental theater. He's like always naked. And when Jetta and I posted on Instagram, like casting a guy who's down to be like full frontal nudity in a short film, maybe we'll pay you, unsure if we have the budget. Everyone sent his profile to us. It was like, this is your guy. And Jetta and I were like, and literally his name in the credits is Naked Guy. Like, that's his entire role, is just to be naked. And Jetta and I both were just like, duh. Like, there's no other dick we want to put in our movie. That's it.
There you go. And we do give out awards, but I don't think this is one of the awards we give out. But one of your films, I would award most creative use of vomit.
Great. What a true honor. The Vomit Award goes to me, goes to Dry January. Yeah, the effects were really, really wonderful. I love like projects that just make a mess. It's probably why I'm in the horror comedy space. But our effects artist, Mariana Guzman Corrales, is amazing. She's like a total genius. She also did the like the Crabman look top to bottom, and then the claws were designed by a Connecticut resident, Sarah Vicina. It was the most practical effects that I worked with. That vomit definitely looks like so gnarly, and the paper also coming out of the vomit. That was, of course, like edible paper, because you can't ask your actors to put something inedible in their mouths. Messy, but everybody was on board, and I couldn't be happier with how it turned out.
In Mail, there's a real line between making a character quirky and losing the audience. And in improv, you can feel it. When it's live, you know, you can tell when you've lost the audience. But in film, that's a hard choice to make.
I 1,000,000% agree. And I have seen such a variety of like terrifyingly cringy, quirky girls that I agree, it's a really tough line to walk. Issa wrote this character, and originally it was like a full pilot, not just a short film. So she really got into like the weeds with this character and who she was. It's kind of like Olive is her shadow, if that makes sense, of like kind of like the most unfiltered, unworked on parts of herself, maybe. Like all of the material came from at least the furthest back parts of her brain, not just out of thin air. Yeah, I think that the reason that we were able to, hopefully successfully walk that line of quirky is that it's coming from a very genuine place of, we're not creating a quirky character just for her to be quirky, but it's like when you are so lost in your life, and Olive, not Issa. Issa's got her shit together. But I think when your life is in such shambles and you are so like brutally honest, it kind of comes out quirky for most people. I'm a writer as well. Issa wrote this, but my favorite thing to write is like, for lack of a better term, like pathetic women. This character, I was so excited to get to direct Issa playing her, because I just love it. It's the perfect type of person.
I want to give you a chance to do some shout outs, members of the cast, crew that stand out to you. I know that's a dangerous thing because you end up leaving somebody off the list and you get in trouble.
The biggest shout out in the world goes to Issa Moon for making this all possible. She's a genius. She's a dear, dear friend of mine. And she's the reason why any of this happened. Also, our entire crew, they're all just so great. And also Olivia Neal, who was our DP, who's my creative partner, who was the third producer on this. We have a production company together, Die She Must, and that's what made this possible. So Issa Moon and Die She Must.
Of course, I want to shout out the entire cast and crew and basically just like read that entire credits list. I do want to take this opportunity to highlight specifically our production designer and costume designer, Jessa Lee Phillips. She was an absolute trooper. I came to the project with her because of her super colorful and vibrant portfolio. And I was like, I love your work. And this is also like a micro budget project. So would you feel okay doing like the wardrobe? It's two people, a finite number of scenes. Do you think you could handle both? She's like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm totally down to do it and just imbue this whole thing with, my vision. Of course, that's two hats. That's two distinct roles. She was such a trooper, and she was like a force of nature. And I'm so indebted to her for like making the film look the way it does.
My partner, one of my favorite humans in the entire world, Jetta Jurians, who we wrote this together. She starred in it. I'm obsessed with her. I'm just her number one fan, and she's one of my best friends, but she's just the most talented, kindest, most beautiful human on this fucking planet. So I'm just so grateful that when I dreamt this thing up, that I called her and she was just like, yes, and say less. I didn't even tell her the story. I was just like, I had this dream. I think we should make a film together. And she was like, okay. And I'm so grateful for that. So Number one, Jetta Jurians. Also, of course, the rest of the cast, Terry Hu and Matthew Forrest, who we've already talked about, but they're both just like the most generous, kind, beautiful, talented humans. And my DP, Kelsey Talton. I've worked with her a million times on a million low budget music videos and some bigger budget music videos. But when I told her I wanted to make this like tiny, no budget short film in a hallway in like one day, she was like, yeah, of course. And she made it look beautiful. And making movies is like, you can't do it alone. And to get to do that and make stuff with the most generous, kind, warm, talented, beautiful, amazing humans is just, it's the best gift ever. So I'm so grateful for everyone that worked on this film. And I could probably list everyone because we were such a small crew, but everyone that worked on this is just, I'm just endlessly grateful. So
thank you so much for your time today, folks. I can't wait to share these films.
Cool. Thank you so much, Claire. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you.